Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us tonight and joining us for MassPAC and FCSN's first listening session on family engagement. We are so glad that you're with us. We have an incredible mix of district representation and family representation with us tonight, and I see more people trickling in as I'm speaking. So I would love to introduce to you the facilitators for tonight and also some of the district folks that are here. And then as families are invited to speak, just introduce yourself quickly, and then you can share your thoughts. This listening session is designed to meet a format of where families get to speak, to be heard, and these district administrators who have come and joined us tonight have all done this voluntarily. They've asked to be part of this. They are your allies, and they do want to learn from you. So we ask that everyone be respectful as they're speaking so that they're really heard. This is a great opportunity for you to show off your own advocacy skills. And we'll be here to facilitate as well, as I said. We do have two amazing facilitators with us tonight. They happen to be on also our colleagues, Heidi Harris, who can give us a wave in the screen. Hi, we'll pin you in a moment. Actually, Leslie, can you pin Heidi and Danny? Thank you. And Danielle Harden as well. They are both seasoned presenters and who always bring a great lens of equity to all conversations. They're both well-versed in family engagement. They're also well-versed in family dynamics and supporting families of students with disabilities. So also with us tonight in district administration, and forgive me, Corey, if I Mikulasik, right? Corey Mikulasik from Foxborough School District. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Margaret Kemmeyer, is it Kemmeyer or Kemmeyer? Kamari. Oh my goodness, I should have asked yours beforehand as well. Thank you so much for being here. Kate Ryan is here from Millbury. I also see that Lynn Snow is here from Littleton Public Schools. So far I've called out 4 directors of student services. Dr. Jennifer Stice is director of student services from Reading Public Schools. I see also, let me see, who else do I see? Well, as more folks trickle in, they'll be joining us. Oh, there we go, some hellos. So definitely, administrators, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to ask that you're going to have an opportunity to respond to all of these comments later. We're going to give you a Google form that you actually get to fill out after you've thought about what you heard tonight and give some responses. We'll then share those responses in a thoughtful way, families, with you and also with the administrators so that you can share from each other's knowledge and what you learned tonight. So I'm going to turn this over to Heidi and to Danny and say thank you very much for being here. And I look forward to hearing from all of you tonight and learning from you.
Okay, good afternoon, good early evening. My name is Heidi Harris, and I'm a family engagement specialist for the Federation for Children with Special Needs. I function in other capacities outside of the Federation. And so I try to identify myself as both a practitioner and a researcher. I want to say this, Megan, because you mentioned about, you were very gracious and you mentioned that Danny and I do a lot of DEI work. I want to really kind of underscore the fact that family engagement is diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging work. I mean, that's at the root of it. So Danny, do you want to just introduce yourself? Then we can jump into our norms and then kind of outlining what the evening will look like.
Absolutely. Thank you, Heidi. I'm Danielle Harden. I'm the project manager for the Massachusetts Statewide Family Engagement Center project at the Federation. I'm also a mom of an almost 10-year-old, so I come with a parent lens also first and then my professional lens second. So yeah, I'm also the chairperson for our DEI committee. So a lot of this work, stems from, the work that we're doing internally, but we also, like I said, Heidi and I work very well together in this field. And we definitely come with different perspectives. So we work so well together. Thank you, Heidi. And thank you everybody for being here.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say this. We're going to lay out our norms. I prefer to call them community agreements for this conversation. And like Danny, I look at this conversation from a parental lens as well. I've sat, like I've said many times, I've sat on all sides of the table, and I know the challenges and the frustrations that rest on this school district aspect and also on the family aspect. And we're not that far apart. I think this is an opportunity for us to just kind of do some active listening here today. And when I say active listening, I mean it's not just this passive process of just you're talking and I'm writing some notes down or drifting off. It's really being intentional about what's being said. And it's about the folks that are listening to kind of take a moment to step in your shoes and see things from your eyes, from your lens. I think with that being said, it's important to just, a part of our norms here is to just kind of extend grace to each other. We're not enemies. We do need to find a pathway where we can cohabitate and collaborate together for the best interests of students. We all have the same, I think we all have the same objectives and wants for students. I think it's also important to be very respectful that we talk about maybe challenges globally rather than targeting any specific person, calling names, or, you can talk about a challenge without necessarily putting somebody on the defense. So I think that those are the two norms that I really want to extend to the group before we jump into our conversation. Danny, do you want to add the other?
Yeah, I actually am glad you said something about being on the defense. In order for this to work, you have to be vulnerable. So it's putting aside, certain things that you already feel, you get on the defense about when somebody's saying something. All of us are, it's about our children. As a parent, I know that, the administrators have things that they need to take care of, but all that matters to me is my child. And on the administrator side, you have things boxes you need to check, and you have things that you need to cover in order to do your job effectively. So it's thinking about ways that when you're hearing feedback from the families, think about ways that you can incorporate, what they're saying and doing into what you're already doing from the beginning. This is an important opportunity for us to collaborate. So anything that you're hearing, think about it as an opportunity to collaborate with this family and collaborate with the administrators that are here. So as we're going along, like Heidi said, definitely just being here, being involved, but, being vulnerable and coming from an empathetic standpoint. So I think I should probably pop in with this family engagement, because that also speaks to, establishing these relationships from the beginning of an action and not after the fact. So I'll pop that in the chat while you continue, Heidi.
Okay. And so just in addition to, well, I like this format. It's basically what we're doing is a virtual consultancy. And typically that looks like a circle and one group speaking, the outside group listening, and then vice versa. But this format here, the inner circle would be the parent voice. One of the norms that we practice at the Federation is progressive stacking, and simply meaning that we hold space and extend the opportunity for the most marginalized voices to speak. And so since we're all families or parents that are speaking, I want to be mindful during the conversation that we share the air and it's not just one dominant voice. Okay, so just kind of monitor yourself and we'll gracefully keep each other accountable during the conversation. We're going to get started and we should be wrapping up at about 6:15. I know that there are some questions that are going to be put forward, and I don't know, again, if Megan you just said we'll talk, shout you out to see if there are any additional questions that need to be put on the floor. Okay, so why don't we begin? Are we good, Megan, Danny?
Yeah, I was just going to suggest you could have folks raise their hand, I suppose, or however you feel most comfortable letting families identify themselves that they want to speak, because each person's allowed to speak for trying to say 2 to 3 minutes, because there's only so much the human ear can hear.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah.
I think that's good. Identify yourself, maybe what age level your child might be in, or the question pertains to, and yeah, we can just raise hands. Okay.
Oh, does everybody know how to use the raise hands feature?
Thank you.
if you go down to your menu, if you hover over where the mute and video buttons are, you can go over to reactions. And if you hit the arrow, it should bring up some reactions for you. And the raise hand feature will be right at the bottom, just in case you don't know where it is. Okay.
Okay, and again, this is a conversation to build community and partnership. Are there any volunteers for the first question? And again, if you don't know how to hit that virtual hand, you can just raise your hand on the screen.
Mhm.
Oh, I know we have some questions here. I don't see any hands, but I know we've got some questions. Okay, so why don't I do this? Megan, why don't we pop it
Sure.
over to you to put the initial questions based on, the organizing efforts on the floor first, and then we'll go
Sure.
from there.
I received a statement from someone that I could read for tonight that might get people warmed up. This is from a parent who says they live in a suburban district where it's difficult to afford housing without two incomes, and their town has a large and growing wealth gap.
Megan,
District.
that one's mine. I don't mind
Yeah.
reading it. I was
No,
having,
but you had another one, I think, right?
this was the
yeah.
one I was prepped for, but okay.
Oh, did I just? You're right. I was reading a different one. That Connie, would you feel comfortable going first?
I don't mind. I was
Is
just
that
having
okay?
some
All right,
trouble
go ahead.
logging
I'll
in.
find your other
I'm
one. I
sorry.
apologize. You're right. That was the
That's
one you were going to
okay.
do tonight.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm gonna make you guys small. Hang on, and bring up my statement. Just 1 second. Okay.
And
You
Megan,
just
why
tell us your
don't
name because
tell
you're
us-
under Megan.
Yeah, so Megan, why don't you just tell us,
Sure.
oh, yeah, you were.
Sorry, everybody, there's a bunch of people coming in under my name because there was some trouble
Yes,
finding the
okay.
link. So I've
Okay.
just been forwarding my link to folks, so they have to change their names.
Okay.
Why
That's
don't you
Connie.
Why don't you just introduce yourself prior to putting the statement?
Okay. So I'm Connie Clausen. Do you want me to say where I'm from, or
You can,
I
yes.
can? Okay. So I'm from Brookline. So,
Okay.
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 Are you ready? Do you want me to start, or?
Sure.
Absolutely, go right ahead.
Okay. All right. I live in a suburban district where it's difficult to afford housing without two incomes. Our town has a large and growing wealth gap. Our district recently began a strategic planning process using DC's Planning for Success model. Among other forums, they organized a community planning team. I want to acknowledge this as a huge step forward with community engagement and thank the district for their efforts. However, in my opinion, the team is missing the benefit of true family engagement. I'm going to share some details about this group I think will sound familiar to many. It's a common practice in school districts, but it's really frustrating for parents. Our community team was formed by appointment and not an application process, which means it wasn't open to new voices. The majority of the people appointed to the team are already on other committees and have other opportunities to have their voices heard. We missed the opportunity to include new voices, especially those from underrepresented groups. The team only meets on weekday mornings, which excluded many people who wanted to participate but needed to work. Who is on the team is just as important as who is not. 70% of the members of the community team are district employees. Half of the community representatives don't work outside the home in a town where most families work multiple jobs. 51% of our students identify as multiracial or non-white, yet only 5 out of 15 community members are people of color. 80% of these community representatives are women. There are no students on the team. Our CPAC and special education staff members hold 5 out of 44 seats. 100% of people representing special education are white, even though our district has been cited for the disproportionate overrepresentation of students of color in special education. The lack of transparency to the process has been frustrating. So far, there's been no communication to the community about how special education is being discussed or if it's even being talked about at all. Does this sound like groups you've developed or sat on for your school district? Have you ever sat in those meetings, looked around, and asked, who is not at this table? We all value the voices of people in historically marginalized communities, and we say we want to include them. We know these voices are vital, and we know we need to seek them out. But sometimes we put a lot of unintended barriers in place that make it difficult for people to participate. For instance, 10 a.m. weekday meetings exclude a whole lot of people in a whole lot of towns. If we truly want this strategic plan to change the trajectory of our district, new voices need to be included from the beginning. All stakeholders should be included in something as important as strategic planning. If parents and students and school staff will be affected by the strategic plan, then we should all have an equal say in its development. A community team needs to be made up of people who live in the community, people who look like the community and speak like the community. If we truly seek to uncover and address our needs, we need to hear from the voices that don't often speak. That's the only way to transform the work that we do.
That was awesome. Thank you. There was a lot in there.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. And let me change my name.
Okay. And I just wanted to ask, because you hit on the point about the barriers, and sometimes we're our own worst enemies because we erect barriers, and whether they're intentional or unintentional,
Right.
the end result is the same. So in addition to the time, the 10 a.m., and if you're working multiple jobs, and you might, even if you're working remotely, you might have a work obligation. What are some of the other barriers that you identify, or you've heard other people identifying? That's my first question. And then I just wanted to know if there are any school committee members on that in that group.
So there are 2 school committee members in the group. They're both retirees. So all of the school committee members who work full-time could not participate in this process. The other barriers really were like who was making the decisions about the community representatives. Do you know what I mean? So everybody was appointed. So basically what the district did was they appointed every chair of every PTO in town. Do you know what I mean? So they didn't open it up to like an app, in previous initiatives, our district has opened it up to an application process and sent it out and said, any parent in the district, please apply. And I think they would have gotten a more balanced view if they had done that. I think that the PTO chairs are A, a self-selected group, and B, they already have a lot of input into the district. Like they have access to administrators and school committee members, and they meet with the superintendent monthly and all of that. So it would have been nice to have people other than them. Not that I'm discounting, I mean, they're amazing people and they work super hard. But again, it just created a barrier to like who's able to participate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And is it in person? Are the meetings in person, or are they?
They are in person. Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments from parents about what Connie has shared?
I'll just share that I've seen it in my district too. So I can, even though I'm here as an FCSN employee, I'm also a parent, and we definitely have seen the same thing. People who already have a voice being invited as it's even happened with me when I was a CPAC chair, that I kept being invited to things and I kept trying to get other parents involved, but it's difficult. It's easy to break that mold. It's just once you're aware of it, right?
Right.
Yeah. I'm just wondering how the students were left out of that process. Was that an oversight, or was there a process where they tried to bring students and it didn't work, or
I know the high school liaison to the school committee, and I can tell you that students were not offered the opportunity to participate. I don't have any insight. I have asked and I've gotten no response. I don't have any insight into how that decision was made. And they're very happy.
Yeah, I tend to find, and I'm not trying to take over the conversation, so if anybody has anything to add, please by all means jump in, but I just wanted to share in terms of family engagement, when I see people living the org chart where it's the superintendent, but above the superintendent, it's the school committee, and above the school committee, it is the students and their families, all students and families that may not be on that school committee. So the ones that may be difficult to connect with, the ones that may be hard to understand, they are still at the top. It's not the other way around. Sometimes we get it mixed up and we assume that the teachers are kind of up in the heavens, or administrators up in heaven, somebody else is other than the students. Ultimately, they sit at the top. So, so when we think of family engagement, you know, that face needs to always be front and center. I just wanted to put that out there.
We've had some folks join us while y'all were chatting, so I just wanted to let them know that if they want to raise their hands in the Zoom hand raising tool at the bottom, you can raise your hand to speak, and Heidi and Danny, who are our facilitators, will invite you to speak.
And again, the administrators are not talking, they're doing active listening during this process.
Crystal has her hand raised.
Okay.
Okay, Crystal.
Still?
Hi, I'm Crystal. I'm a parent of 2 children who, can I say where we live?
Yeah.
Okay, we
I
live in
just meant
Woburn.
we didn't want to necessily target someone at this
Nope,
particular
yes.
school, and it's this, you know, that third grade
hear you.
math teacher.
So
We
I'm
all
a parent,
know who it is. That's what I was trying to avoid.
right. So I'm a parent of 2 children. I live here in Woburn. And my oldest is a senior and is in regular education. And my son is outplaced at another school, and he is in middle school. So he's in 8th grade going into 9th grade. And I wanted to speak about how the issues with out of district students not being connected to their community. And so when a student is outplaced of a district, there's a lot that goes behind the decision. Often the placement takes place because the parent has advocated and fought to have the proper education for their child. There is often school trauma for the child as their needs were not being met. Once a student is out of district, it feels like the district gives up and doesn't care what happens next with the student. Out of sight, out of mind. We need to remember it's not about us adults, it's about the student. My son has no connection to his home district. He views the district as his nemesis. He views the district as a group that didn't do their job and caused a lot of trauma for him. So much that he's in intensive therapy twice a week, dealing with things that happened while he was in district. On the flip side, I have another child who has thrived in our district, especially at the middle school and high school levels. I can very much see the good and the not so good of our district. Since being outplaced, my son has continued to be disappointed. Last year, his previous middle school held a National Junior Honor Society event. While the ceremony was going on, I had friends texting me, asking me where we were. Yes, my son qualified for the National Junior Honor Society, yet we were never notified, called, or invited. They did remember to put his name in the program and say his name at the ceremony. After we notified the district about this, they offered a few ways to make it up to him, and my son refused and saying they didn't want me there the first time, so I don't want it. I've asked numerous times to our out of district coordinator to let me know what's being done to connect our students to the home district and community. It's documented in our IEP notes. In the past 2 years, I've received 2 emails, one to contribute to the middle school bake sale that my child doesn't go to, and another asking if my son wanted to be included in the 8th grade yearbook. I asked my son if he wanted to be in the yearbook, and again, he said, no, I'm not part of that school. None of those kids are my friends. They all dropped me when I left our school. So there's after school clubs and activities and sports that are not accessible to our students that often travel by van up to an hour away from their homes. Yes, there are nuances that would
have to be taken care of to help make our district students more comfortable. It probably can't be on school grounds where they experience their trauma. It would have to include people who know the students and had a good relationship with them. And it probably has to happen outside of contracted hours. I'm a school teacher myself, so I know all about that. More communication and effort on the district's part would need to happen. Couldn't this be a part of the person in charge of family and student engagement or the out-of-district coordinator? One time when I asked, I was told to reach out to the recreation department, which over the past few years has tried to include more students. However, my son doesn't want to go to an arts and crafts program or a walking club that includes 5 to 22-year-olds right next to the elementary school where he experienced so much trauma. He wants to be around kids his own age. He wants to hang out and play a few games, talk to others, to make a connection. If our city won't put in the effort, why would the school put in the effort? And vice versa. There has to be systemic change. My son was asked if he would ever return to our home district for high school. And his response was, why? They don't want me there anyway. He's seen what his older sibling has experienced in high school, and he knows his experience won't be the same. His school will do the best that they can to try to replicate what a typical high school does, but it still won't be the same. After attending his sister's award night at the high school, he broke down in tears in the lobby. Later, he confided that he realized he would never have the same opportunities. Again, being let down by the district that failed him in the first place. Connections are lacking with students who are out of district. Districts need to extend an olive branch to those families and work hard at connecting them back, repair relationships, regain some trust. Let's change that narrative, make it our goal. Change, let's work together to help fix this. Reach out to your CPACs, your recreation departments, and out-of-district families to continue to get ideas of what can be done to help connect our students and then implement them. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you, Crystal. I just have one question. That was really, well stated. But I just wanted to ask, if I were the out-of-district coordinator at your district or any district, maybe both of us are in this fictitious district, how would you guide me into creating a sense of real belonging, so that the children that are in outplacement can feel a sense of connectiveness?
I think taking the time to have open conversations with parents. Often when I ask a question, I'm pretty much like, oh, well, we don't have anything right now, or it's on my list. It's on my list of things to do. So I think really having engaging conversation, I think inviting us to come in and talk about what our students need and what they miss. And it was interesting because when he was placed out of district, I said, there's got to be some manual of things that you do when a student goes out of district. And they were like, no. And so I think that's part of it, is just there's no procedure or protocol. And after that incident happened, they said, oh, we're going to make a checklist. So now they just made my son a part of a checklist, and it's not that's a systemic problem. So I think they need to invite the parents to talk about it and try to figure out what can be done, especially through the CPAC or other outreach ways to communicate with parents.
Yeah.
Thank you
Heidi?
for sharing. Mhm.
And Danny, can I have a parent had submitted a similar topic also on out of district placement communication. If it's okay, I'd like to read that too, just to give another angle of that, of like how it can impact the student like even later, because students are invited to come back to graduation. If you're out of district, you're invited to come back to walk with your home school, but this is an experience that a family just recently had. So they said, my daughter's been out of district since the middle.
Megan, 1 minute.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's related to what Crystal just said,
saying.
but Adam's hand is up. So I just want to let Adam speak first, and then we can pop back over.
Sure.
I'm happy to wait. You go right ahead, Megan.
Oh, okay, all right, very
Okay.
good.
Thanks, Adam. So this person's daughter's been out of district since the middle of 7th grade, and the district does not make it easy for out of district students to remain connected with their community. They say they going to work on inclusion and that's a priority for them, but it creates a lot of unnecessary barriers to participate in extracurriculars and life of the school types of activities. This person's daughter is a senior, really wanted to walk at graduation at their local high school. She never asked for or needed any type of special supports or accommodations. She just wanted to participate. So they started working on this last July and finally received all the permissions and registration links in late April. Graduation was last week, and some of the comments that she heard from former classmates during the rehearsal were, "What are you doing here? You know you have a bad reputation, right? You don't go to school here." And apparently this was whispered multiple times, "Why is she here?" So obviously this person's daughter was upset, but stayed through the event, never reacted. When her turn to walk came, she marched proudly across the stage, greeted the superintendent, accepted her diploma, and headed back to her seat smiling. And then mom was shocked when she texted about 10 minutes later saying she wanted to leave. Because later she said that as she was walking down the ramp from the stage, someone called out, "What is she doing here?" And people gave her dirty looks. So mom says they have a picture of what was taken moments after, where she's calmly walking down the aisle to her seat with her head held high. And she said she thinks she's more proud of that moment than any she can think of during her child's entire high school career. Because personally, mom doesn't think she could have pulled that off. Adults say they value inclusion as often as they like. They can write it into policy, enact procedures to codify the practice, as our district does, or those checklists that Crystal mentioned. But at the end of the day, systems that are not living their values repeatedly place special education students in situations just like this. The fact that graduating seniors were targeting a student with a known disability during the graduation ceremony itself should tell people everything they need to know about the school culture and climate in that district. School districts all over the Commonwealth spend enormous amounts of money teaching neurodiverse children to adapt the world around them, but more needs to be done teaching typical students to accept human differences.
Thank you. Follow-up comments? Thoughts from our parent?
I just wanted to comment, Crystal, I am right where you're at. When my daughter left the district, she left in the middle of a school year, and her homeschool actually took her out of the yearbook because she was no longer going there. So it's heartbreaking.
Danny, were you going to say something?
You know what? I just thought about the Crystal and the checklist that they're starting. It seems like an opportunity for you to get a copy of that and make it look like it should.
Is there a checklist?
Well, you know, you can ask about it since it's been put out there already. So if this checklist is really going to exist, maybe perhaps you should write your own and give them a jumping off point to start with if there isn't one. If it doesn't look like what you have, then, you know, clearly some collaboration needs to happen. But, you know, this could be an opportunity for you to inform them what you would like to see for your child in paper, and, you know, send it to all necessary people to see that you've put this together. You've taken the time to do this for your child, because this is your child's voice. This is what this child wants to see. So if what you have is not speaking to this, you know, then some changes need to be made. But, you know, I would say it could be therapeutic for you as well. You know, get that paperwork started already and hand it over. This is what this should look like. That could be the start of some collaboration, you know, or at least some, you know, some self-checking. Mhm.
Thank you.
No problem.
Adam?
Hi.
Hi.
Tough acts to follow, these last two. My goodness. And thank you, especially Crystal. That was very moving. And even the statement you shared as well, Megan, was also very moving. I hope it's been impactful to everybody in the room as it has to those of us who've said so. So I'm Adam Chapman. I'm here as the treasurer of the Woburn CPAC. I've been volunteering with the CPAC here in my home district of Woburn for about 10 years. Been sitting on the board for I think 4 or so years as the treasurer. I'm also a parent of my oldest kid, autistic, just graduated from an out of district placement. Youngest kid is actually in a different district than our home district, neurotypical. Just to give you a little bit of background on my experience, but I'm here to kind of bring the CPAC perspective, and I guess you'll hear more of from what's happening in Woburn, because Crystal and I are in the same district as well. But just to start with a thank you to everyone who's here for taking the time, for listening, especially during the busiest time of the entire school year. I do want to be respectful of everybody's time. I know other people want to speak too, so I'll be as brief as I can. We all know Massachusetts law requires every public school district to establish a CPAC. And we all know CPACs are meant to serve both an advisory role and a participatory role. Now, where these two roles meet, that's where the opportunity for family engagement lies. Your CPAC is made up of parent advocates of children with disabilities. We communicate with each other constantly. We're sharing resources, information in real time. And at least here in Woburn, we build networks of support with other community groups. In other words, we're already doing the work of family engagement, and you are in the position to take advantage of that work. We know school districts across the state are continuing to play catch up, and as we all continue to make sure kids are getting caught up on their testing and observations and compensatory services and the like. Educators, administrators, you're all stretched very thin. And oftentimes the first thing to fall by the wayside is communication. That's certainly been a theme we're hearing so far tonight, but really that's been an issue in our district, communication between administrators, educators, and parents. We hear from too many parents too often in our district that they're the last to learn about changes in their children's classrooms. A new team leader, gap in services due to a departing specialist, a change or an update in a program description. I think everyone here tonight can agree that clear and timely communication creates a strong foundation in the relationship between educators and administrators and the parents of kids with disabilities. So I'm urging you to use your CPAC to that end. If you keep us informed and up to date, we can keep families you serve informed and up to date. And while we're on the subject, fund us. I know every CPAC kind of has its own way of, raising money. Some are funded by the district, some are set up as a 501 or 503C or what have you. And I know budgetary issues are top of mind for everybody, especially in our district. I'm sure if you've been paying attention to the news over the last year, that's the case. But you create a small line item for your local CPAC that can end up funding family engagement. Here in Woburn, we host an annual college and transition fair. We've been doing so for almost 2 decades now. It doesn't just serve our district, it services our entire region. And we're planning on bringing back an event that we've had for the last 10 years, but obviously had to put on a little because of COVID. Honors and Appreciation Night. We're going to bring that back next spring. In previous years, we've had over 100 families nominate teachers and service providers and other professionals in the district and that serve the district who have supported their students throughout the school year. It's great. We give them certificates. The parents are invited to speak. The kids are invited to speak if they want to. It ends up being a great family event. Those are just 2 examples of how a small CPAC investment, just giving a couple of $100s in some cases to fund one of these events, you can yield big returns from a family engagement perspective. You get improved communication, you get events that create goodwill. So to sum up, CPAC volunteers, parents, dedicated administrators, and educators, we all have this in common. We all want what's best for the kids. So use your CPAC as a communication conduit and fund your CPAC so that your district receives the full benefit of the type of family engagement that we provide. Thanks.
Thank you, Adam. I just have one question because I keep thinking of the progressive stacking aspect of this and the most marginalized voices that don't even know how to really connect with their CPAC. So how can maybe the district CPACs and the administrators work together to pull in the voices that don't end up tapping into that resource?
That's a great question, Heidi, because that's something that we've been struggling with here in Woburn, and I'm sure a lot of other districts struggle with as well. We've seen a big diversification in our demographics here in Woburn over the last decade or so, and we're trying our best as a CPAC to reach out to these disparate groups of parents in a lot of cases that they don't even know that services are provided. A step that we took as a CPAC is we started to disseminate a brochure at the beginning of the last school year that's in the 4 languages that are most used by people in our district. And we distribute it digitally, and we distribute a paper version because we want to try to connect to as many people in as many ways as possible. So I can speak to that from the CPAC perspective. From the district and administration perspective, it comes back to communication. And I know each district functions differently, but what I, as a CPAC volunteer and as a parent, would like to see more of is a little more impetus from the district and from administrators to, we shouldn't have to, we're putting a lot of ourselves into these volunteer roles, Heidi. So we shouldn't have to then go the extra mile of having to email each and every principal at each and every school, or like to beg to get our events put on, an email or a text blast when we're seeing those come out 2 and 3 times a month from the district. I'm sure that other people in other districts, other CPAC volunteers, other parents probably have similar complaints. So really, again, what I'd like to see more from the districts is just more of them taking the initiative to make sure that our voice is heard so that we can reach out together to the voices that need to be represented more.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks again.
Mhm. Any follow-up or questions, Marilyn? I see your hand, but I don't know if there are any other.
Well, it was a follow-up to that, but I can wait. That's fine.
Oh, okay.
So my name is Marilyn Anderson from Malden. I'm former CPAC chair. I guess the idea I wanted to bring to the table, we had done this a few years back. Malden's a very diverse community. We're lucky in the sense that we have good support from our SPED director all the way up through our mayor. But one of the things that we did is we formed an advisory council probably, I don't know, a good number of years back. But the advisory council, we really are trying to make sure that it's diverse. And that has kind of helped because as a person from a white background, I don't know how everybody else thinks, and I'm not trying to be, you know what I'm saying? I really need to hear everybody's voices. And also it was culturally people taking information so differently too, that it was really kind of an eye-opening experience. And it's something that has continued on. We're about to hold our election again, but the advisory board's going to kind of continue on with that. But that was probably the biggest piece I would say to answer that question, is to try and get more people involved. The other thing, and it may have been brought up, I apologize for my tardiness, is we are able to have the team chairs in our schools give out the flyers for our notices and that type of thing. So if that can be given to team chairs for school meetings and that might help. And I know it's more work, so it's a hard juggle.
Okay, thank you.
Marilyn.
I think Maria and then Stephanie.
Mhm.
Is that it? Am I seeing it right? Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
Hi, that just resonated with me, whatever your name was, sir, who was just speaking. And I'm multitasking. We have a CPAC event going on my phone, and then I got my kids in the background. So, but we have like very strong support and encouragement and enthusiasm from, hold on, I'm talking, okay? From our student services. And so one thing I'm kind of thinking, but yet it still seems like there are people that don't know about CPAC, even though I feel like we've been trying so hard to get that message out there. And like student services has been working hard. We've been working hard. It's on every IEP. It's in every signature like that comes out from student services. It's in all the principal newsletters. We do have, we found point people for each of our elementary schools. We've had a harder time with the secondaries, but the point people, and like, it's just a limited role. Like literally, please just give this email to your principal so that it's like a parent from that school saying, can you please put this in the newsletter, just to give that like face. Cause I think administrators, it's so hard. Like, it's just so hard. They're so stretched thin right now. That has been helpful to us. But I guess I feel like there needs to be more of like a enthusiasm from not the student services side, like from the gen ed side. And so I've spoken with our superintendent a little bit about that. And, I asked him if we could go to like a leadership meeting at the beginning of the year, and he was super receptive to that. So kind of just say, I'm hoping like get our face to the principals, kind of let them see, and then like have like the gen ed side if someone is, you know, if a parent's requesting an evaluation, like encourage them to go to our website, because I feel like the tone that we have as a CPAC is like super collaborative, super follow the chain, super, you know, go through the process. So, you know, I'm always like, oh, it shouldn't be bad. There shouldn't be tension, because I think we're all doing the right things. I think we just need to maybe get it out there to parents before parents are like disappointed, you know, like before parents get to that disappointment level. And then another thing to reach underreached groups, just that personal connection piece. So we found, like, through personal connections, we were able to connect with a woman who was a Boston resident mom. So we have Metco in our town. So she's on our board now. And like, it came from personal connections. And I'm kind of like, oh, I wish it could be like more of an official thing, but I guess that's how, you know, it is. It's through personal connections. And a friend of mine's is awesome. She speaks Portuguese, and she's Brazilian, and she was enthusiastic. So now we have her as our multilingual learners point person. And so like, she reaches out through an app that will translate. So it's coming from it's not just coming from this stranger from CPAC. It's like coming from a CPAC mom, but who is in a similar boat of being like a multi-language family. So those are a few things that we're trying in our district too. But yeah, I hear you on that piece that like, we're stretched thin and we're volunteers and we're tired. And so to have, like, CPAC is required, right? The school committee is required to have a CPAC. You know, it's not required for me to be on one or to have one, but it's required for the district to provide it. So yeah, we have that support, but I want to see even more from the other side. Okay, thanks. I spoke a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I was on mute. That was fine. Thank you.
And our
Stephanie?
administrator is here. I know she can't speak, but like, I'm thrilled that she's super supportive. So Jen, thank you for coming.
All right, thank you. Stephanie?
Hi, so I am a new committee chair to Quabbin CPAC. This is my first year sitting on it. We are running, for Quabbin, we are running into the same thing. So we are getting a lot of pushback from the SPED director, from the special education director, as far as who sees our notices. I know, like Adam said, Massachusetts is required to have a CPAC, but it feels very much like, that's great, you guys are required to exist, but we're gonna put up this cement wall and you guys are gonna figure out how to break through it with a spoon, is very much how we are getting presented. So they have a master list of students that are advised of our meetings, only students who are currently special education students, which discounts all of our EI students, discounts all of the people out of placement district, I'm sure. I don't even know what the list looks like. They won't even share the list with me. So it is extremely frustrating. I'm in a very frustrating spot. So I'm trying to make relationships, but also walk that tightrope of not angering anybody. Feels like a tightrope acrobatic dance right now in my district for me as CPAC chair.
Thank you. Any feedback to that before
I have one.
mhm.
Stephanie, I can empathize, certainly. And I can say that one of the things that we focused on this past school year, and really kind of even going back before that, and it's going to continue to be a focus for us here in Woburn, is to build up a community outside of the district. We would love, as every CPAC would love to work in harmony with the district, but a lot of times it's not easy to do. So we've reached out to, we've got, thankfully here in Woburn, we've got a great, we've got a Boys and Girls Club. We've got a Social Capital Incorporated who helps get our information out to people. We've got a lot of community groups that we've, gone and kind of done our due diligence and met with and introduced ourselves to and found out who the players are, so that at least, we can, if we can't get our message out through the district, or if we can't have a healthy communication dynamic with the district, we at least have other arms in the community that we can reach parents with. So just a suggestion of something you guys might want to look into.
That's awesome. Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you for that, guys. So I'm going to, thinking about the progressive stacking model. Are there any parents who would like to speak up who actually do not belong to a parent-led group? Um, who are just standalone parents who have some concerns or questions? Feel free to speak up. We're here. Okay. You can unmute yourself and just speak if you want to, if you can't find the little hand raising button. No pressure.
Okay, I think Stephanie's hand was up. Is that correct?
Stephanie, yep, she just spoke. Is there another Stephanie? Hold on.
Yeah,
I think
I
Yes.
had raised it originally to speak, but then
Mhm.
I did.
Okay, all right.
I have another parent comment that was submitted if there isn't someone else that wants to speak right now, but I'll let you continue to go through. Okay, I can give you one that's actually very timely because it's about ESY. So I think a lot of people might be able to relate to this one. Summer learning program is a challenge. You know in advance as a parent that your child is eligible, but it doesn't seem possible to plan in a timely manner for childcare because details of ESY are shared just a week or two in advance of the program starting or the end of the school year. The quality of the support my child was given in summer 2022 was not actually helpful. Many days he was instructed to listen to his summer reading book on Audible. He could do that at home without an educator present. I recognize that budgets are strained. How can we be more proactive to support students earlier and possibly reduce costs later in the special education process? Dyslexia in particular seems to be identified later. This has multiple thoughts here. Dyslexia in particular seems to be identified later than it could be with kids, which leads to their poor self-image as a student, and their work and effort to catch up later is significant. Parents who can afford it mentally, financially, and have the time can then take on advocates or other approaches with the school system to secure out-of-district placements, but this creates inequity. And it's a very different path for students without supports and means. In addition, kids in public schools then sacrifice any electives in middle school that might have supported self-esteem and friendships when they have to actually attend their therapies. So I guess there was an issue of a question about communication and an opportunity to consider helping parents with that, but I'll let you speak to that, Heidi, because you're much better at summarizing things than I am.
No. I was actually going to, no. I was actually just, first of all, going to ask, where did that comment come from? Which
What
district?
part of the state?
Yeah, is, because I'm trying to figure out if that's, size of the district.
Melrose. It's not me.
Okay. Okay. Do you mind just reading that second part again
Yeah, sure.
around the part where,
The inequities after you can afford, if you can't afford the, okay. So parents who can afford to mentally, financially, and have the time can take on hire advocates and follow other approaches with the school system and secure out-of-district placements. But this creates inequity and a very different path for students without these supports or means. In addition, kids in public schools then sacrifice any electives in middle school that might have supported their self-esteem and friendships because they have to attend therapies.
so I guess, again, I would like to just throw out for the group, what are some suggestions for the administrators to avoid that? Like, what are some actionable steps they could take? Crystal?
So I actually am an educator, elementary school education. I've been teaching for 22 years in a neighboring district. And I see this as a teacher where parents who have advocates get what their child needs, and people who don't have advocates, I'm advocating for my students. And I think administration needs to listen to the teachers who are with the student for 6 hours a day. We have data meetings and teachers aren't invited to the data meetings. So they're talking about my students and I don't get a say. My student is just numbers on a paper. And so I really would like, I would like it if I was invited to those meetings so that I could help those parents advocate for their child. I'm free. The district's already paying me. And I see that's where I see the most inequities is the students of color, the students who single family homes, students who live in apartments, and the parents don't have the resources, or if they're in foster care, they don't have the resources to have a paid advocate like I was able to do. So I think if they went to the teacher and asked them, I could tell you right now in my classroom who needs more help, and I've advocated for it and no one listens.
Thank you. Any other suggestions?
Connie has her hand up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Connie? Mhm.
Yeah, so two separate things. So the ESY, one thing that was successful in our district was moving the location of the programs. And so our rec department does hold summer camps. And so we were able to relocate the ESY classrooms to the same schools that were also housing the rec camp. And so ESY kids were then able to transition to camp after their ESY, and that helped them to like maintain connections and get some community, engagement and go to the pool and stuff like that. But it's not, it was hard. And it's not possible. It has a lot to do with what schools have air conditioning and how the size of your facilities and things like that. So I recognize that it was hard, but that was one thing that really was successful at making ESY more palatable for the kids. Right? Because we've done ESY for years and it wasn't a popular thing either. And for the advocate out of district thing, my daughter is out of district and I have done a lot of work with our program. And I will say that there is a growing movement among the 766 schools. They definitely recognize this as an issue. They are incredibly cognizant of the difference between the school to prison pipeline and the out of district pipeline and who is being directed into which areas. They are very invested in diversifying their student bodies and very invested in helping under-resourced districts and under-resourced families get placements. I know that they're just beginning this process. They're just starting to organize, but I would really encourage districts to kind of get involved with that. I know that there's this, I completely understand the tension of the cost factors of out of district placements and things like that. But, these schools are willing to work with districts and try to like help this process and to kind of help level the playing field for people. So keep your eyes open, I guess.
Great, thank you, Connie. I'm gonna go to Salima first. Mhm.
Did I unmute myself?
Yes. we can hear
Okay.
you.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Salima, and I actually am with Marilyn. We're part of the Malden CPAC. And, you guys were amazing. You touched on so many things today. And it's pretty hard to know, from out of district to family engagement. So I had another thought in mind. I wanted to talk today about like one big issue that most students with disabilities are facing, and this is the equity gaps for students with disabilities within school districts. So despite the progress that has been made, in providing, equal educational opportunities, it is evident that more work needs to be done to ensure that students with disabilities receive the support and the resources they need to thrive, not only academically, but socially and emotionally. And I'm not sure where to start. Honestly, I wish the administrators would take, a more comprehensive approach to prioritize inclusivity and foster a culture of acceptance and understanding, where students of disabilities would feel valued and supported, and where their unique abilities and contributions are recognized. I also want to talk about the implementation of the IEPs in general. I really hope that they are truly individualized and tailored to meet each student's specific needs. Like, honestly, school districts should invest in professional development for special education teachers so that they provide, the appropriate education that those kids need. And most of the time, I feel like general education and special education, operate in silos. They don't operate in tandem. And this is a real issue. But since we're talking about family engagement, I feel like this is really a critical component of addressing equity gaps for students with disabilities, because school districts should actively involve parents and guardians in the decision-making process, because parents possess invaluable insights into their child's strengths, as well as needs and aspirations. And I truly push for regular communication, parent workshops, individualized support, anything that can help build trust in partnerships between families and schools would lead to better outcomes for students with disabilities. And I could talk on that forever, but I really think that I am so sad that our students are like, that equity gap is widening and widening and widening. And what are we doing? Actually nothing, or not enough. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Let's see, Adam.
Yeah, I just wanted to just a quick follow up on the ESY thing. And actually, I'm gonna Cambria's been sharing some great comments in the chat as well. And I'll tie that in as well. Family engagement, are parents included in planning ESY programming and communication? I feel like ESY is probably one of the easier gaps to bridge. End of ESY, you send a survey out to parents. What worked, what didn't? You gather the data. Great. The next winter, you take a look at the data. Okay, what do we need to do to change our ESY programs? And you make sure that they're on the books and announced by the 1st of May. Simple as that. You wouldn't book a vacation and have Delta Airlines tell you, okay, well, we saw that you reserved a flight for August 15th. We're going to let you know on August 14th if that flight's going to fly or not. We would never do that. Or you never call a hotel and say, yeah, we'll just show up and we may or may not have your book. We'll let you know the day before if your booking is going to be available. No, and that's the analogy for, like, you can't tell parents of kids who need ESY 2 weeks before, the end of school, what the ESY's programming is going to look like. And I understand, as many people have mentioned tonight, that there's a lot going on, and administrators especially now have a lot on their plate. But I feel like that's one of those things that you can pretty much set the clock to at the end of the summer, send out the survey. In the winter, start talking about what gathering, looking at that data. What's ESY going to look like? Okay, great. Let's make sure we have a plan together by the 1st of May so that parents can make accommodations and plans.
Great, thank you, Adam. Oh, you're on mute, Heidi. Were you trying to talk?
Sorry, I was saying thank you too, and agree with that.
Okay. Oh, we have Maria with her hands up. Did you want to say something real quick, Heidi?
Well, Cambria did have a great comment in the chat, and I just wanted to see if she wanted to throw that on the table for discussion, more discussion as well.
Sorry, Heidi, I think that someone else is in on the same account as me. I didn't actually write those comments. I bet it was Megan.
It's me.
Oh, okay. Megan, did
But
you
I could take credit, but Megan's the brilliant one.
I'm not brilliant, but how well do you know me, Cambria?
I'm shifting the credit I gave to Cambria over to Megan.
It's all good. I was just as people were talking, I was just listening to, again, the basic of the the basic premise of family engagement, when you're doing best practices, anytime with family engagement, it's including families and schools and community organizations. So when we were talking about ESY and that great suggestion of, that I think Connie brought up of talk to rec. I mean, I was hearing from Crystal way at the beginning that, the recreation department doesn't have any resources for kids with disabilities except for the one big group for 1 week. They have a group in her district from it serves ages 5 to 22, one room, 1 week. And that's what they have. But like, if we work together and you had the rec department in the room, plus a bunch of parents, plus the district administrators, couldn't we come up with some sort of great ESY solution? And it doesn't have to be done 2 weeks before, it needs to happen. So yeah, that was part of what I was trying to underline, but that's true for absolutely everything. Ask a parent. I want to make mugs that say ask a parent. And, it's just great that I love that district administrators have with their CPACs, they have parents on speed dial, right? And I hope that that everybody who's here thinks about including them more in the decision-making process, not the after you've developed something process, but the beginning in the decision-making process.
Thank you so much, Megan. We do, oh, Heidi, you're muted again.
I was agreeing and I was just kind of giving, the agreement.
Yes. And Maria, do you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. I don't know if you can see me. Sorry, my computer's being weird. I just wanted to say on ESY, so we had that issue. We still have that issue where the information comes out fairly late. But last year, I think just so many parents were bringing their concerns to whomever they could bring the concerns to. And I think a lot of them went to the Director of Student Services that in Reading, she was able to bring together a lot of community groups, and they just had a listening session, much like this. And, no answers were expected from any of the community groups, but it was just a chance for parents to speak. And we had, well, we didn't host it, but like a lot of people were in this meeting, like so many parents came, and it was at 12 o'clock. I remember it was like a lunch hour thing, and just talked about how difficult it is for their kids, especially with like more significant needs, like what to do with them during the summer because they're in ESY, but there's no camps. And I don't even know how they did it, but somehow the community education group, like they put together a post ESY like camp. So, ESY is in the morning until like 12:30. And then they put together this program that the kids can go to, you can pay to go to it in the afternoon. And so I guess my advice is like, what is it? The squeaky wheel gets the grease, like a lot of parents kept bringing this complaint up or issue up. It wasn't really, it's just an issue. And we saw that program come, which has been very helpful. So don't underestimate the power of a lot of people speaking.
Can I just interject here, because you said you can pay, and to me this is a problem of equity.
No. Well, hold on. If I can just say, it's just like any other camp, right? So like ESY is free, but like, and I hear what you're saying, but I just want to make sure it's clear that we're talking about people that would be looking for camps for their kids because they work, but they cannot enroll them in the camps because the day, like their kids have ESY in the morning. So it's just an option to provide a place to go that they would be willing to pay for anyway, because they'd be putting their kids in camp anyway. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just wanted to be clear on that piece.
Yeah, no, I think we've been doing for years the JCC camp, I think in Marblehead, and they have like an inclusion camp. So if you have the money, of course, there will be always, ways to include your kids in an inclusion camp. I'm worried about parents who don't have the means, who still want their kids to get that academic a little bit during ESY, and also get, opportunities to be, for their kids to be included. And that seems to be the biggest issue here, because if parents have to pay for that, then that's not okay. And sometimes we hear from districts, okay, well, where your kid is eligible for ESY for a couple of hours, like 5 to 6 hours, you can't really ask us to put the kid in a rec center or something. And if we do, we're not going to provide any support, like who is going to supervise the kid. So it's really, really a tricky thing right now. And, you know, I just wish, like, it's not an easy answer.
Yes, apparently, as I've just learned, there is funding for families in that boat who have the ESY in the morning and then want to go to this program. So if apparently this program, there is funding if someone doesn't have the means to pay for it.
Then can you put the name of that funding there on the chat so that we can share with other CPAC members if that's possible?
I don't know anything about it. I'm getting a message.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah. I don't know how to handle this. I guess if I find something out, I'll send it to Megan. Maybe I'll do that.
That sounds great.
Okay,
I also
thank
like
you.
to underline that, following up on Salima, that were other comments submitted by parents, multiple, that it was like, even from the accessibility of playgrounds on school property and in the community, that there weren't enough rec department and after school programs where there was support for students with disabilities. And they would love to hear from school districts about programs that you have worked with and identified as being trained in working with students with disabilities, as being as places that would welcome families, because a lot of families don't realize that, what accommodations under the ADA that they're eligible for, that sort of thing. But just wanted to share that it is a common theme that came through, and there's definitely opportunity for district administrators to be advocates in the community for families and work with families in that advocacy process.
Thank you. Just quickly, Leslie, is there an opportunity that you have coming up or could be created for some of these CPAC leaders to kind of get together and talk about some collaboration and sharing resources?
Yes. Thanks for
Yes, that sounds like it's
the free
needed.
pitch. So I am, the Federation is running CPAC Summer School for our 4th annual summer. It'll be held on Wednesday evenings starting June 21st from 7 to 8 p.m. It's a virtual kind of conversation and learning. This year we are hearing about best practices and it'll be taught by fellow CPAC officers. So I'm really excited that we're going to have lots of different perspectives at the table and conversations. So I will find the link to the page at the Federation's website that has the agenda and also the link to register. And I want everyone to know this is free and open to any family member that's interested in finding out what's a CPAC, how do I become more involved in my CPAC. I just want to learn best practices. You don't have to be a chair of a CPAC. You don't have to have any titles or roles. You could just come. And you can only come to, if you can only come to one session, come to one session. So it's just a conversation. And thanks, Heidi, for the tip. And I just want to thank everyone, especially Megan, Heidi, and Danielle for conducting this session this evening, for allowing us to really listen and to hear some of the challenges that families and CPACs are facing as they try to support families and students. So really exciting thing. It's the final family engagement panel for the MASPAC membership, but I think it's something that we might want to continue. I think Megan just put the evaluation in the chat so that, yes, I think I saw it there. Yes, okay. And that would be great if you can give us some feedback of how this worked for you. And I know she's going to be following up. So thank you so much this evening. I got to find that link before we go.
And thank you to the administrators for doing an excellent job, just, staying engaged on that outer circle and doing the active listening.
We appreciate all of you. Thank you, families. Thank you, listeners. And thank you, Danny and Heidi, so much. And thank you to Leslie, our illustrious leader of MASPAC, and Cambria Russell, our director of Massachusetts Statewide Family Engagement Center, who they are our co-hosts for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you, guys.
So long.
Bye.
Good night. And
night.
Sandra,
And I
I'm
did
sorry we
get-
didn't end up.
Thank you.
That's okay. It was very interesting.
Yes, I'm sorry, but thank you so much for being available. And
worries.
he did confirm yesterday, so I don't know what happened, but, and I did even